So, I thought I would give an ownership update on my Mark 7 Golf R. Yeah, familiar subscribers to the channel will know the car. Yeah, so it's a 2017 car. I have owned this car now for 6 years. You might have seen my last video, which was basically on my Focus RS edition, an ownership update in this exact same location as well. I'd only had that car for 6 months. So to have this car for 6 years, yeah, I feel I'm in a good position to be able to give a bit of an ownership update of this car. I've driven quite a few Golf Rs as well, whether it's mainly Mark 8 Golf Rs to be fair. But anyway, yeah, just to give you the pros, the cons, what I found it, how much things have cost, you know, what I've liked about it, what I've hated about it, all those kind of things. So yes, nice sunny day. I've actually given the car a really nice clean and a wash, and that's one thing I want to start off with. I really do feel like I've abandoned this car a little bit since getting the Focus RS, and I think I'm going to have to really take a big look on what I want to do with both my cars, whether or not I'll transition it into one. Yeah, I think that's probably going to make more sense, to be fair, so I'll have to make a decision. I love this car. I'm the biggest Golf R fan you'll ever know. It's just so good, so good. But yeah, let's actually start with some of the negative points that I've kind of come across on this car. Negatives, wow, this isn't going to take too long. The car is built really well. These Mark 7s are built very well, actually, really well built. I do have an annoying little rattle somewhere on the left. Don't know where it is. You might be able to pick it up on camera. Don't know what to do about it. But it's more annoying because the rest of the car doesn't rattle at all. So that's just one little thing. I don't know what it is, but it's just something rattling away, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, I guess negatives, I suppose, over the course of my ownership, if you're not familiar, I'll try and shut up the parking sensor stuff. I've had, what have I done over the term? I have changed the clutch. I changed the clutch at about 36,000 miles. These clutches on my manual, I have a 3-door manual. It's a limestone grey car, if I haven't said so before. It's completely stock. This is a bone stock car. It's never had any modifications, and I have no intentions of doing it. The only thing I have done to this car is I've fitted Club Sport-esque brakes at the front, the discs, and they're basically just drilled discs. They're 2-piece. So they're really good, actually. I love them, and actually I need to give you a proper update on those because they're fan flipping tastic. They look the business. They feel the wheels quite well. I've got 18-inch Cadiz wheels. Yeah, I think they're really good, actually, and certainly something that I would recommend. Although nothing wrong with the stock discs either. So yeah, the clutch it's a chocolate clutch, so yeah, that's one thing you have to be aware of. So when pushing hard, just expect the clutch to go early. I didn't particularly push this car hard. I did get this car as an ex-demonstrator at about 1,000 miles, just over 1,000 miles, up in Manchester. So potentially, the salesman, might have given it a bit or people test driving it, so maybe that's why the clutch went a little bit sooner. But either way, it's had a new one and it should be all good to go. Thermostat housing, I had the coolant has forever been a problem in my life with this car. Well known and well documented on these EA888 engines. Doesn't matter if you've got a Golf R or a Golf GTI or a Porsche Macan, if it's got this 2-litre EA888, you're gonna run the risk, or Audi S3, of the thermostat needing doing, or a Cupra as well. They're in so many different applications, and kind of why I love the engine, really. It's a mighty engine, my favourite engine ever. On the manual gearbox, there's no sort of auto rev matching or anything like that you can get in some sort of like modern manuals, so you have to be aware of that. Just again, something that can affect the clutch. I've always found first to second dodgy. I've been with other owners who've had Mark 7s manuals and spoken to about it. They say first to second is dodgy. I've been driving now for like, what, 14, 15 years now. So I kind of know how to drive a car, and I've never really been able to work out this manual, but it keeps me on my toes. And I notice the difference when I get in my Focus RS, or when I've had Fiesta STs in the past, or when I drive other cars like the ST Track Pack, other manuals or whatever. I notice, yeah, I kind of notice how this one is a little bit iffy. The clutch is actually quite heavy, actually. It's much heavier than, say, comparatively to my Focus RS or other manuals I've driven. So it is kind of reinforced a bit, but Yeah, it's a lot of power at the end of the day through the it's 300 horsepower, this car. A lot of torque through it's a very short ratioed gearbox, which makes acceleration incredible. Like, genuinely, I would say this car is no slower getting off the mark than my Focus RS, which has 440 horsepower. If anything, this actually feels a bit quicker because you're just getting through the gears so quickly, because it's got short ratios. Not the best for economy and stuff, but great for, yeah, acceleration, and it picks up. And it's obviously got four-wheel drive, so it puts all that power down. I love the wheel. I mean, look at, it's just, I mean, 45,000 miles I'm on in this car, and it feels flipping box fresh after I've cleaned it today. Really, really box fresh. So I tend to turn off the traction control a little bit when you want to have a bit of fun, just because it just loosens things up. This is quite a fun road. You can kind of be in fifth and it's got plenty, even in sixth it's pretty good. As you can see on the left hand side, just about, I've got sort of like this is my performance monitor. Available in Mark 7s from about 2016, and it's on every sort of Mark 7.5. Really good. I've got it set up of like, well, yeah, oil, engine temps, kilowatts, which is just the power of the car. This car's rated at 221 kilowatts. I alternate that between that and my blue eco setting. That's kind of what I do, just because I like to be in eco and I like to be chilled when I'm cruising. So that's all great, and I'm very used to it. It's all manual. I've got heated seats, I've got dual zone climate control, the touchscreen works when I want to use it, and the buttons work when I want to use it. Adaptive cruise control is being brilliant. It's radar guided cruise control, so you don't even have to like brake. It will just autonomously do everything for you, which is very, very handy. Very handy. And the car, I can probably push this car harder than I can push, say, I compare it to my Focus RS because I own that other car at the time, simply because it rides a lot better. It's still a firm car, as you can see. We're still bouncing around a bit, but I think on the 18s it just works a lot better. Yeah, I really enjoy. I absolutely love this car. I love this car for everything. Every time I get in it, I love it. I love the looks of it. I think in limestone grey, it's the colour for a Golf R for me. I think that's what a Golf R was designed by Volkswagen to be. That kind of grey, discreet. You know, no one really notices it if they don't want to. If you know you've got this unbelievable car, and I've loved it. I recommend anyone to get one. Find one, low owners, full service history. I mean, this has got full VW service history. There's been one previous owner to this, which was the dealer. Yeah, I'm super happy with this, and I can't ever see myself getting rid of it. It's just not worth me getting rid of it for, say, 15, 16, 17 grand. What's the point? You know, what would I replace it with? So yeah, I love it. I love it to bits. Obviously I could get the Mark 8 Golf R, but at like 38 grand for a half, you know, for a 30,000 mile Mark 8 Golf R, I'm not so sure. And I don't like the steering in a lot of modern day cars, whereas the steering in this, particularly in race mode with the weighting, it's so nice. I really actually feel the front end, and I've driven a lot of cars. It's a really good driver's car, very underrated driver's car actually, because it's kind of perceived Golf Rs are a little bit boring and stuff, but I completely disagree. I think it's one of the most fun cars I've ever driven, particularly on the road. It's very good on the road, really good on the road. So yeah, the cost wise, what have I mentioned? The thermostat housing is something you've got to look out for, but once you get it done, you know, things should be okay. Just keep an eye on it. Clutch, if you have a manual, if you have a DSG, you just have to do your DSG oil service stuff. Other than that, it's been really easy stuff, like oil filter change is just normal, you know, 150 to 200 quid, something like that. I get it at VW. Sparks, you know, you'll pay a little bit more for that. The only thing you have to do every 3 years, which is what I've got coming up, is a Haldex service, and they just changed the Haldex oil stuff just to keep things in sync. So this year it's going to have another major service, being the 6th year. So I'll get oil, filter, pollen, I don't know, sparks, Haldex, and I'll probably do the brake fluid as well. Yeah, I probably would do that. So got a bit of work to keep it kind of fresh and lovely. The Cadiz wheels, as much as I love them, because they're diamond cut and they're very strong wheels, I'd say they're much stronger than the 19-inch Pretorias, which will buckle on, particularly on the roads that we have in the UK. I really like the Cadiz. The only bad thing is, by being diamond cut, quite more difficult to repair. I've only slightly repaired one wheel once, and then I just curbed it again, and I haven't bothered with any since. I don't really have any curb marks on these cars, but what you get is you get something called white worm on the wheels, and there's really not much you can do about it. And I've got some on the left and the front. It's just from, like, if a stone chip gets in it, yeah, stuff will happen off the back of that. Yeah, so that's one thing. Yeah, but I think the looks and the quality of the outside is really, really good. Loads of gloss black bits. It's Golf, VW giving everything. They're not holding back like they do on the GTI. They're not like pulling stuff back, pulling power back, or pulling design back. You know, even like the front lights on these. I love the quad dual lights. You'll see it if you check out my if you check out my YouTube homepage. You'll see my car and you'll see the quad lights. I think it looks fucking amazing from the front. This car, it's so good. It's everything to me, and I've got a very late 2017 car, which is a bit strange because you would expect that to be a facelift, but I managed to sneak in, which actually is quite handy because I get the lower tax bracket, so I pay just as much as, yeah, well, hardly anything really, to be fair. 160 quid, 170 quid, which is fine. Whereas before that, most Mark 7 Golf Rs are sort of in, particularly for a manual, you're looking into 240, 250, which does add up. I mean, hey, I've had this car for 6 years, so you know, you do the maths. That's a couple of tanks of fuel, isn't it? I tend to only run this on 99. I tend to get really good economy, actually. I'll tend to get between 350 and 400 miles. It's got a pretty big tank. It's a 55 litre, so range is good. I have been able to see up to 500 miles when I went to Edinburgh once, so the car can do it. And if you have a DSG, it's going to be even better. That's what's great about it, and most of them are DSG. I like the whole 3-door manual thing. It makes the car a little bit lighter, a little bit rigid. It works for me. I don't have kids or family or anything like that, so, well, I don't live with any family, so it's like, yeah, it works for me. But when you have people in the back, it's very practical. I've got an event tomorrow, which I mentioned in my last video, which I would have already done, at SMMT. I can take this, I can take the Focus RS, I'm not too sure. Same thing in one of my workshops, and it still works. It's still really, really good. I actually like the sound from the, basically what it does is it does a sound generator through the windscreen. It's a bit of a sound imposer kind of stuff. I actually think it's quite good. It makes it sound like a bit more raughty, and it makes other people quite happy as well, people who aren't as into their cars as potentially I am. Now, sorry, I'm getting onto the A1M, so wind noise, well, you'll get to see what wind noise is like, but this is where this car works really well. We'll get past this guy. And that's the easy thing, it's an easy car. You don't, even in a manual, I don't even really need to try to overtake people. it just does it, but you do have to be changing gear quite quickly. That's one thing you have to be aware of. So we'll be moving on to the A1M for my cruise. I have to get into this lane because you have to get into this lane. So the taxi man's going to be annoyed, but hey, he can overtake me. Right, and then what I tend to do is I stick it into eco mode, which basically softens the throttle. It was obviously a firm throttle beforehand, and then if I do this and I stick it into this eco setting, and I can kind of cruise, I can get between, on an average on a tank, I can get around 35 mpg. I've seen as high as 45, and yeah, that's pretty good, I think, for this type of car, this type of performance. It's very, I find, you know, cruising in here, I find it really just a great car. I'll turn back traction control back on. Yeah, so it's just been such a special part for me. It just does everything. I can park it up anywhere and not worry. You know, I don't worry that someone's gonna steal it or scratch it or whatever. It hasn't got keyless, so it's, for me, that's a better thing to go for because it's a little bit less easy to steal. If that's, well, yeah, something you've got to be aware of, unfortunately. Yeah, apologies if any of the sun or anything's in your way. Hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah, what else? Practical. It's got like underfloor storage. The seats are super comfortable, super supportive, some of the best. You know, I come out of my buckets in the Focus RS and I get into this and it's like, oh my God, it's like in a Rolls Royce. The seating position is awesome. You sit so low in these Focus RSs, so low. The steering wheel comes nice and tight. It could be a little bit tighter at times, but yeah, a little bit closer to my body I'd like, but you know, for the actual seat being so low is a really good thing. You've got Android Auto and stuff if you want to activate it. You've got auto start stop, which you can turn off by a button. You've got the traction control, you've got your different modes, very easy to use, hooks up to your Bluetooth fine, never had any issues, not one. It's got nav, but I never use the nav because I just use my phone, as you can see there. Yeah, it's just flipping awesome. And as you can tell, I love it. I absolutely love it. So what's some of the best things? I suppose like just the fact that it can do everything, the speed, the economy, the practicality, the fact that I've had it for so long as well. I suppose the residuals as well. I mean, I paid £24,000 for this car and it's still, you know, a dealer would probably sell it for about 18. So, I mean, that's pretty good over 6 years. I've owned it outright as well. I only own my cars outright. I don't finance. So I'm happy as an investment for me on that side, because it's a big amount of money to put. Yeah, you can put your money into other things, but I quite like it in this. I've never really complained. The mirrors fold in really nice, which is quite cool on a twisty back road. It's actually a narrower car than you'd think. Certainly narrower than my Mark III Focus RS, which helps with parking and things. Helps with visibility, still good in a manual, in a 3-door. Even with the Haldex, you lose a little bit of space in the boot, but I've had bikes back in here, I've had loads of stuff in here. Auto lights are great, the bi-xenons are awesome. It's got this sort of like light thing where it reflects on the different side when you turn the steering wheel. Man, I'm talking a lot about this car, but I mean, you have to watch back on a lot of videos on this. It's just so good, so good. What a car, what a car. Yeah, my car. Yeah, it's just brilliant. I can't really think. I mean, this car doesn't have DCC, so if you want a more comfortable car ride, you can get that. But I've heard DCC actually affects the steering a bit, so you have a bit of a compromise on that side. Plus, they're quite hard to find, DCC cars. And I mentioned about the 19-inch wheels. You've got an auto park brake, so there's no manual handbrake. Works okay for me. Wow, yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I really can't fault it for everything. It's still a Golf. It just does Golf stuff. If you want a Golf, get a Mark 7 Golf. Any of them, really. GTIs, and the R is the best in my mind. It's top of the tree. It's what they did. It's what they put all the effort in. Yeah, it's a super car. I like how it's on 18-inch wheels, because the section of the tyres is only 225, I believe, which helps with road noise from the tyres. I noticed that a lot when I go to my RS with 19s, which would be the same if you got the Pretorias. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it, this car, and I can massively recommend it. And I really do want people to get in the comments on this one, because I can really help you out completely if you're looking to get one. I said it in my last video as well. Low owners, preferably unmodified for these ones, although the modification scene is quite big on these cars. Yeah, full service history. I mean, mine's got a full VW service history, but I wouldn't be put off if it's had like a specialist or a mixture, as long as it's had it all. And particularly with COVID and stuff, if it's been having it, you know it's been looked after. You know, I made sure this car got serviced one way or the other, and it did, masks and all. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's good fun to drive. It's a really good fun car to drive. Get through the gears. It's a quick car. Really is quick. It feels like it pushes on more. Not only has it got that acceleration, but it feels like it will ramp up to 155. No problem. No problem. And that's a great little trait to have in a car. Really is a good little trait. And because it's a Golf, it's actually easy to work on. I had a cracked windscreen back early on when I got the car. within a couple of months actually. And I remember the guy replacing it, and he was like saying, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. He said he had a Cayman he was replacing the window before. This is just auto glass, people. And he was like, these are just so easy. And that's what it is. It's designed to work really well as a car, which is what it is. But it's a little bit more than that. And who doesn't want a little bit more in their life? You know, you live once. You could either have a normal Mark 7 Golf and pay X amount of money, or you can pay a little bit more and have a Golf R. I would have the Golf R personally, and that's why I have a Golf R. There's no real reason why I can't recommend this to anyone who's watching this video. Anyone. I don't, you know, there's no one who wouldn't get on with this car. It's that level of good. That level of good. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a bit more fun, because there's some really nice roads around here where you can kind of push it, and it's very tight farm roads, and I struggle to do it in my Focus RS because it's quite wide and it's very firm and bouncy, whereas this just hits that spot. It's the sweet spot. As soon as I find out what that fucking rattle is, this car is a 5-star car for me. I'm sure I just need to bash something, or maybe I can ask a dealer to look at it or something like that. I'm never normally too fussy about things, but yeah, something's moving around. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, subscribe. I'm still going to do Golf R content. Actually, I hopefully would have done stuff at SMMT, which is this car event. I want to do something in the Mark 8 Golf R or share it. So hopefully I can bring that to you in the next video. But if not, there'll be plenty more bits to come. While I'm coming up to a roundabout, it's a great example. Not only are the brakes really good and a great feel to it, but okay, I'm behind a truck, so I won't really get to show you. But yeah, okay, here's a good example. So I have to stop here. First gear pull off on a roundabout. You are so much quicker than everyone, so you can always get out in front of people. It's just like, it's no issue because of that acceleration. You see how the revs go up so high because you've got to be changing gears so quickly, but you get enough at the top end of first. Hey, things you don't know, but this is what it's like on a real world. In the real world, it's a real world good car. It works. You know, I'm never like not confident it's not going to start. I'm never going to be not confident that it's just going to brake on me. You know, it's got my back, and I've got its back as well. I look after the car. I think the controls are really high quality. The wheel feels really high quality. The buttons, the indicator stalk, you feel that a lot more, particularly coming out of my Focus, I'll be honest. I'll whack it back into race mode because that's what I like. A race mode also opens the valves a little bit. So you have 4 exhausts on a Golf R, and by putting it into race mode, you open up 2 more of the exhausts, and it just gives a little bit of burbles actually when you lift off over 3. Not that loud, but you know, still nice enough to be like, yeah, you know, cool, if that makes sense. I'll let this guy go. And I've got like the temperature, the EA 888s get quite hot actually. That's one thing. I mean, I'm at 106 degrees or whatever. That's quite hot. My Focus RS runs at like 80, but then that has got a huge AirTech Stage 2 intercooler and an oil cooler, which is obviously going to cool the oil. Yeah, so that really doesn't run hot. But then if you wanted to modify these, you can easily fit intercoolers. You can fit Racing Line, do some great bits on the car that I can recommend, knowing the owner of the company a little bit as well. He's yeah, he's a great guy, Sam. So yeah, Racing Line, if you wanted to go any mods and stuff on the car, I would definitely recommend. There we go. Great car, amazing car. I'm lost again for words, as I normally am. Yeah, I'm gonna have some fun on these roads now because it's proper and entertaining. But happy place. I've got a bit of a decision on my hands. I've got to think things through. Yeah, a lot going on in my head, a lot to sort out, a bit of a pivot point in my life, and the cars are kind of involved in it. Obviously not much because they're just inanimate objects, but they still play a part. So yeah, I've got some choices to make, and we'll have to see from there. Oh look, it's the police. And that's the thing as well, you go past the police car, they don't look twice at a Golf R. Certainly not a grey one. I mean, I could be like a 70-year-old just cruising, for all they know. But in my Focus RS edition, it's a slightly different story of attention. That's a car that's better for events. Although I did take this to the German Action Day at Castle Coombs last year, and it got some nice attention, which I was surprised about. The RS gets more. So yeah, if you want something that pings with attention, you can get this in like Lapis Blue, or like the Oryx White is a gorgeous colour, or the White Silver, and they stand out a bit more. But overall, a Golf R is trying to be what it's trying to be. It's just a car for everyone. I think they absolutely nailed it, and since they created the car, guess what everyone's done? They've copied them in every single way. Everything is a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged car. Everything has 4-wheel drive, and everything is based off a normal hatch. So it's just like they were the original, and they knew what they were doing. VW also didn't really cut costs, which I like in this car. This was built to a very premium level. You know, you got everything. I love it. Right, I will end it there. Subscribe, more content to come, and yeah, comment below anything you want to know about a Golf R. I will reply, because I love helping people out. That's what the whole point of this channel is. It's a community-based channel. I just want to help you guys out. You know, I reply to plenty of owners who have questions, or people who are looking to get cars, and give them my advice. You know, I'm not getting anything out of the back of it. You know, I don't run my own dealership or anything like that. Yeah, I just want to provide advice based on my experience. You know, you see how long the channel's been going, you know I'm all about. Right, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again next time, and have a great rest of your day and week and month and year.